The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
What time is it? Clobbering time!
I am the face that runs the place.
You need Roman to be out of the main title picture for a little while. You give him a break. This is the only way you're possibly going to get the crowd to do anything but boo him. Just give him a break.
I'm the greatest wrestler in the world.
It was exciting to see because it kind of reminded me of Reading Rainbow a little bit.
All he needed was LeVar Burton to come in there.
Well, this would have definitely got a 5-star pay-per-view for me.
Show of the year.
Yeah, show of the year.
Daniel Bryan and I have agreed to trade you, Sami Zayn, straight up for Eva Marie.
Eva Marie, Mick?
Eva Marie.
Guess what, Mick? I'm worth 100 Eva Maries. I am worth 1,000 Eva Maries. And what blows my mind, Mick, is that you, of all people, don't get me. That blows my mind, Mick, because you used to be me.
But isn't this what you want?
No, it's not what I want.
Then what do you want?
I want Braun Strowman.
Then what do you want?
I said I want Braun Strowman.
I don't think you want Strowman. How bad do you want Strowman?
Mick, give me Braun Strowman. Damn it.
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling to the max.
And your hosts, Gary Vaughn, Sean Garmer, and Paul Leeser.
Welcome, everybody, to Wrestling to the Max, episode 225, part 1. And we've got a good, great, excellent, everything about it show for you tonight. We are going to be talking, of course, some big quick hits, some things that are coming out in the world of wrestling. We're also going to talk a little bit about Wrestle Kingdom. That's right. The entire card is out there for you guys. So we're going to get excited and talk a little bit about that. Kind of, maybe give a little bit of predictions. This isn't really the time, but we want to go ahead and maybe get a few early things in. Plus, we're going to also talk Ring of Honor TV that happened this week. So that is, of course, what we're going to get into on this show. We appreciate everybody who's coming to check us out. Of course, if you're listening to us, you may have found us through a couple of ways. Maybe you found us through W2M Network. Hey, if you're subscribing, thank you so much. And if you haven't, hey, that's one great way to get all our shows in one easy, nice, tied-up bow. You can go and check that out. Also, don't forget, you can go to W2Mnet.com to go find not only the podcast, but a lot of written reviews, of course, for wrestling. A wrestling section that's a lot of fun to go read. Plus, it's also got some video games on there, which is a big part of the website, and a few football things, too. So you want to go check that site out. Remember, that's W2Mnet.com. I'm your host, Gary Vaughn, and, of course, with me is Mr. Sean Garmer.
Hey, everybody.
And the one guy that's returning to the podcast that he was off an entire week, let me play some interest music for him, Mr. Paul Leeser.
I'm waiting for the interest music.
You ready for this? You ready for this? Okay.
I'm ready.
Oh, yeah.
Woo!
There you go, Paul.
You can't go wrong with that.
That's our interest music for today. You enjoy
What
that?
a return. What a return.
I can't wait till YouTube flags us for that.
That wasn't long enough. It wasn't long enough. Man, welcome back, Paul. I mean, we have a lot of fun, and joke around. But, honestly, the show's not the same without you. And I hope you enjoyed yourself. I know you took an entire week off to go to Disney World. Tell us how it was, man. How was that entire experience?
It was really incredible. It's Christmas time, of course, so Disney being Disney, goes the full 10,000 yards, and it's just Christmas everywhere as far as the eye can see. They have a whole parade at night dedicated for it over the Magic Kingdom. I went through all the parks. It's if you've never been, even if you're pushing 30 like me, it's still a great time. If you have kids, they're going to enjoy it a lot more, but my God, I mean, the lengths Disney goes is just incredible.
So, I mean, outside of, all the great things that you got a chance to see, like with the parade and all, what was your favorite part, man? Because, I mean, I haven't been there in a long time. I was a kid the last time I went.
I mean, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so the Star Wars Tour rides is super fun. That's definitely my favorite ride there. But, I mean, just the experience, like the details, like the parks, they're built in such a way that they really feel like you're in different places. Like I said, it's like all the tiny little details that Disney puts in. Example, Hollywood Studios feels like sort of golden age of Hollywood in the 40s and 50s. So you have a lot of old school looking stuff going around. Magic Kingdom, of course, is Disney. So you have the big castle, and you have all these. They added Belle's Castle recently, and it's just so incredible what they can do to make you feel like you're somewhere else.
That is awesome. Mm-hmm. Did you get a chance to check out the actual, Animal Kingdom? That's one I've never seen. How was that? Because that sounds like a really cool experience.
It's a smaller park. We got through all that in half a day. Granted, this is for full-grown adults running around acting like they're 5, not running around with actual 5-year-olds, because I'm sure it would have taken a lot longer to get through the parks if we had kids with us. But it's smaller. They have a full safari where you literally drive around, and we had animals walk out right in the middle of the road. So it was fantastic. Big lions, it was great.
That is awesome, man. I'm glad you had a great time. I mean, that sounds like a fun experience. I am eventually going to be going. I know for sure Sean one of these days is going to be taking that trip. I know Anaya would love to go. Lily, she's totally in the Disney phase right now, watching all the Disney shows. But, man, I still say I got to get her to be at an age where she remembers it, because I know right now at 3 years old, she's not going to remember anything. So I want to take her, maybe 5, 6, 7, somewhere in that range where she remembers some of it. Because it's not really a trip you take all the time unless you live in Florida, and even then, when you live in Florida, it's pricey, man.
Or if you're super rich.
Yeah. If you're super, yeah.
Good.
No, because like Gary said, you do get a discount for being a Florida resident, but it's not. Still going to paying for just to go to one of those parks, not to mention the 4-hour drive if you're coming from Miami like I am, and the having to find a place to stay, and is the parking, all that. That's a whole thing, That's still you still have to save up for that, Now, if you're one of those that like all you're doing is going with your buddies or going with your friends, your girlfriends, that's something you can do in like a weekend, and you can make that decision. But if it's a family thing, you got to plan that thing out, and it's nothing like when you guys make a decision to go to Six Flags or whatever.
Right. It's it's a grand, even for us, for grown adults, we still had it super planned out and everything, just because you have to maximize your time, just because those parks they're so jam-packed full of people. It's pretty insane.
I bet. And you probably bumped into people from all around the world, because of the fact that it is a, hot spot, at least in the United States. So, wow.
It's not just the U.S. Like, just walking around, you hear all sorts of different. I can't tell you how many times I heard Russian or certainly some Eastern European language being spoken. So,
yeah, no, you're right. You're exactly right, and it's exciting. And hopefully one day, and I'll get a chance to make it back over there, and that'll be a whole thing, though, for sure. So I'm glad you had a great time. I'm glad you're back, though, man. This is nice. I want to make a special note because Paul told us and reminded us because me and Sean, we had a crazy week last night. We ended up doing part 1 and part 2 back to back because of some crazy things that went on last week. But we omitted a very special person in our Superstar of the Week, and that is Kyle O'Reilly. And only Paul would help us out and remind us, but he wasn't here. So me and Sean omitted him a little bit on accident. I don't know. We just missed it. So we apologize. But Sean noted, really honestly, he's not going to catch up probably to the guys leading, so it doesn't really hurt anything, but it's still sad because he deserves some points. So we want to make that special note that we didn't completely forget because we, had Paul to help us out. So, but Sean, I mean, man, I know you've had a crazy week yourself, and you've spent a little time in a place that none of us want to do, and that's the hospital, Bo. And that's scary, man. I'm so nervous about my daughter, and I can't imagine how terrified you were when you had to go to the hospital this week.
Yeah, I mean, these things happen. I'm sure I will get that one crazy idiot that somehow will say that it could have been avoided and terrible parents and whatever. You always get those crazy. No, trust me. There's been times before where I have. That's why I don't decide to write about those things anymore, because I used to, and the amount of vitriol in comment sections from idiots that probably don't even have kids, it was amazing. So I never discount anymore that there will be those same idiots that decide that they want to rear their ugly heads and think that they know more than you. Yeah. But, these things happen, believe it or not, as much as you try to. And look, when your kid gets about 5, the whole baby-proofing thing goes out the window. Like, there is no baby-proofing. Even when your kid's at, like, Lily's age, you don't do that anymore. You just, they're kids, and things are going to happen, And, we just moved to a new place, and the whole downstairs area, instead of having only one part of the downstairs area, which is the kitchen, in the old place, it was like this small kitchen that was the only thing that had hardwood floor. Everything else was carpet. Now here, the entire kitchen and sort of dining area or whatever that's sort of connected to the kitchen, which is pretty big, is all hardwood floor. So. And we have this big old rectangular table, but it's so awkward that nobody eats on it unless you're having, like, a family get-together or whatever. So we use these tray tables to eat in that little area. And she had her cousins over there, and they were messing around upstairs, and something happened that she didn't like, so she wanted to go tell Grandma about it, and she comes running in. She hits the tray table. My mom had just gotten a coffee right hot out of the microwave that she also makes on the stove, so it's not I got it out of the Keurig whatever and I just wanted to warm it up some. It's that coffee that you're already making on the stove, so it's already kind of hot as it is. It just got a little cold, then you put it in the microwave, and basically becomes, that steaming hot coffee. And so she bumps in the table, she slides down, like basically falls down. The coffee falls on top of her. And all I hear, I'm upstairs, like, playing a game or something, and all I hear is ah! And I'm like, oh my god, what the hell? And I go downstairs, and everybody's hysterical and screaming, and child is just writhing in pain, and I'm like, what the hell happened? And yeah, it was just terrible. Yeah. And she's also had to go. Not only that day, but then she's had to go now 2 consecutive days to go back to hospitals to get the second-degree burn re-wrapped. And yesterday was terrible because it got stuck to her, and they did not know how to get it off. So they had to send her to the main children's hospital, which is like 45 minutes away from where we live. And there they had to do something to finally get it off. And then it got sucked to her today, and we had to take her again to the hospital. And yeah, it's like somehow they want us to like rip the bandage off, clean her, just put water on it, and then put a new bandage on again. And it's like, God, if it keeps sticking every night, there's gonna be a lot of hospital visits.
Yeah. Jeez. Wow. Yeah, I mean, that is terrifying, but I'm glad she's doing better and all that, man. But that's the thing I worry about so much. I know Lily is 3 years old, and she runs like a bat out of hell everywhere. Yeah. And
that's what kids do, man.
Yeah, and I'm just waiting for her to hit something, the corner of a table, to fall in the fireplace. You know what I mean? It terrifies the heck out of me, and I try not to be mean, but I also be like, stop running.
No, I tell her, really I was like, stop running. This is what you get for running everywhere. But she's not going to learn. She's going to be running again. Kids don't. I remember my grandma would tell me this story of me falling off the pool table. And at like 3 years old, and she's like, well, you learned, but you had to go to the hospital to learn. I was like, yeah, I don't want her going. And that's happened to me too, where Anaya's hit the corner of a table or whatever, and she had to get stitches in her. I think I told that story, but yeah, it's scary. It's scary. It's one of those like, you never know if it's going to be worse than it really is, and then when you get to the hospital, you have people looking at you as like, oh God, is this the real story, or were they just being negligent? You always got to worry about, is the hospital going to think you're just being negligent, or whatever, and it becomes a bigger thing than it needs to be. But thankfully, none of that happened, because none of that's what happened. But I mean, she was being all. I have pictures of her with her foot propped up, and just laying on the bed watching shows. And
good.
She got her little Pikachu today, because I had to go to GameStop to get a game for one of our game writers, and she's like, Daddy, you better go get me Pikachu. I'm like, wow, you just make demands like that. All right.
Oh wow.
I was like, you're only getting this because you're hurting. So
yeah,
she was excited.
Hey, she deserves it. What a trooper. And so I'm glad she's definitely feeling better. And it's a tough situation. And I hope I don't have to deal with it, but I know I will. I know I will, teacher. But yeah, people, we are going to be talking wrestling. I know we talked a lot about the kids, a lot about Disney World, but we're just kind of getting back in the groove, man. We're finally all back together. We haven't really had a chance to talk, so we're here and we're doing it now.
It's weird. We've never talked this much about personal things for like 20 minutes.
But we know our quick hits list isn't too long, and we've got some interesting stuff on the Ring of Honor. So trust me, we're still talking wrestling. The first thing before we do jump into quick hits, I want to throw out there is John Cena was on Saturday Night Live. On the Raw review, we kind of noted it, I think, but we didn't actually talk about John Cena being on SNL. I know, Sean, I know you said you didn't really see it. Paul, did you actually get to watch it or no?
I've seen the opening monologue,
which is kind of funny. I kind of thought it was kind of cute, if in a way, I guess if you could say that. I kind of enjoyed it. So, I mean, really, besides that, I mean, they had a lot of John Cena. This is interesting because I kind of watched the entire episode because I wanted to see everything they put him in. The one thing I'll find interesting with him is the fact that they did kind of a lot of the dumb jock stuff, which I don't know if that's a slight at him or just he plays that character okay. He does a good job. He played Rob Gronkowski. He played a Alabama football player who was obviously uneducated, but he was getting lots of love from the administration. So they were basically cheating his way to getting good grades. They did a funny actually sketch. It was kind of like a dating game thing where he played the host, but the girl actually fell in love with him as the host because apparently he's so hot. So there was a few things on there that was kind of funny. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if you get a chance to go check it out. It was pretty okay. It was nothing to write home about. This is John Cena. He does everything you've kind of seen him do. So, but I didn't think he did a bad job. The guy did a pretty good job for what he was asked to do. Represented WB pretty good. So that's a positive, right? I mean,
yeah, I just nothing on Dave Chappelle. That was the first full episode of SNL I've watched in years. I think since maybe middle school. So, I mean, at least they got me to watch an opening monologue again.
Yeah, you know what? And honestly, I'm embarrassed to say this. I still need to watch the Dave Chappelle one. I planned on it, and I didn't record it, and I forgot about it. And so that's why I haven't watched it. Hopefully Hulu does have that. But I watched this in full because I knew Sean was going to ask me about it. And thank God I did watch it because at least we have something to say about it. But it was nothing super excellent or anything. It was just John Cena. So I am going to watch the Dave Chappelle one, though. I love Dave Chappelle. Big fan. Besides that, guys, let's move on, though. Let's go ahead and talk some quick hits. And don't forget, we're also going to jump into the Wrestle Kingdom card. I think we'll kind of save that to the end of quick hits. But we're going to start with some other interesting news. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
It's time for wrestling news. Quick hits.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, let's talk about a big rumor that is circling around the internet. And this is one about a guy that was once upon a time a part of the NXT roster and then was let go. He has been a big indie star on the scene for quite a while now. That guy is Chris Hero. And it has been reported that Chris Hero is going to return to WWE in the near future. Now, once again, this is a rumor. But that brings up the question of how much do you take out of this? How much validity do you really put behind the possibility of Chris Hero joining back up with WWE? How do you feel about it, Paul?
Man, this is kind of huge because you're talking about somebody like a Chris Hero who is one of the top independent stars on the circuit right now, and not only he's one of the biggest stars from the independents maybe ever, and he had such a killer 2016 just on all the work that he did. And I mean, for him to come back to a company who sort of slighted him and wanted him to do all these things that he wasn't comfortable with, and went out there and sort of showed that despite his look that he has now, he can still absolutely go 100% like he could all those years ago. And I'll tell you what, if he is re-signing, it's a huge get for NXT. It's a veteran, a tried and true veteran, somebody who will put butts in seats. And I just don't know whether Chris Hero is obviously, he's come out on Twitter and other places and openly denied it. So, take that stock for whatever you want, but I don't know if I believe it yet.
With WWE now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if I believe it yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, that's been the long-standing deal for a long time now, that if you're signing with WWE, it's going to get out. You're supposed to deny until it's your time to appear on TV. And so he might be doing that, and so it's his way of sort of denying by also kind of putting down wrestling journalism, which doesn't always have the best track record, especially the way that news has to come out, because you can't have official outlets just report that this guy got signed and then whatever. WWE will do that sometimes now, but it's still funny how when they want to keep things a surprise, they get really mad when other people report on stuff. I mean, look, this is going to be, if it happens, it's a huge deal for NXT because they've really been kind of needing that star, that one that kind of puts them over the top, that you go, yeah, Nakamura and Joe are great, and they are stars, and certainly they deserve to be in that category, but I think they don't really need to be there. And we all know this, and they need to be on the main roster. And so, having a Chris Hero, I think, allows you to have that flexibility to say, okay, I think we can send a Nakamura. I think we can send a Samoa Joe up to the main roster, and we'll be okay. And also because, Chris Hero is such a great wrestler that anytime he has a match at NXT TakeOver, whatever, it's going to deliver. He has the name of, he's going to be on Wrestler of the Year list this year. He won't be for this podcast, or perhaps for our website, where it's not just related to the, certain companies that we cover here. He will be on those ballots, and justifiably so, because he's had one hell of a year, and I'm sure WWE has noticed that. And now that WWE are watching pay-per-views and making match reports and everything else, they're seeing these guys. They're taking looks at guys that perhaps they said, oh, we already tried him out, didn't like him, or, we already had the ordeal with Casiello before, do we want to deal with him? Well, now we kind of need to. And, he said he would be back at some point, right? That was his closing statement to the whole deal. So it's not like he has this thing against WWE or whatever, but he also knows the trauma he went through there. So would he be willing to go through it again, or will WWE kind of come up with some middle ground with him?
Yeah, and that is the interesting thing here. I'm really kind of curious, and the one thing that, is important to me is the fact that, they do need those stars, like you're saying. They need those guys that can really come in and fill the shoes of a Samoa Joe, of Shinsuke Nakamura, who, have been rumored to be leaving sooner than possibly later. I just question how much the brass really likes guys like this, especially a guy like Chris Hero, who, apparently, was accused of not working hard enough and was not, doing what they'd asked him to do, like drop weight, get more defined body-wise. And that's what kind of ousted him in the first place. So it makes you really wonder if that's just going to be like something that they said that was in the past, do what you want now, or they're going to bring him in and try to put him in those same rules. That's the things that kind of make me really interested in if this is true, if it's not, and all that kind of that takes place behind the scenes. So I think it's very interesting. I really do.
I think the biggest difference between when he left and now is that NXT has changed so much. It's not just development anymore. And maybe that's why he was just sort of not working so hard there, is that it was strictly development. Now it's a big-time news-making third brand that happens to be development for some people. And even now I question whether it actually is anymore or not, but certainly what you get on television every week and at TakeOver is not development stuff. This is a full-fledged third brand. So that, I'm certain that has a lot to do with it now.
How do you think that they address because obviously it's a problem. It's not, I just didn't want to work out. It's obviously a weight problem that he has. Like, do they just say, hey, you don't have to be 160 pounds, but you can't be 300 and whatever either?
Mm-hmm. I don't know how they're going to go about addressing the weight issue. When you have, and it's not like Kevin Owens is fat or anything, but he is larger. He has a more rotund body presentation. So does Chris Hero. Chris Hero is not exactly a thin man anymore, and I think he doesn't look awful. He's just, you can just tell he's bigger.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it just, like I said, it interests me because of Triple H being in charge of NXT and the way he's kind of set things up, and we've heard about the heat between him and Chris Hero because of the weight thing. So I maybe like you saying, Paul, maybe it is changed. Maybe things are not the same, and those same limitations are no longer there.
Plus, I hear dad bods are in, so maybe he's got that going for him
now. Oh man, thanks a lot.
Hey, I'm right there with you, Gary. So
I'm just kidding. Yeah, dad bods. Honestly, the dad body, and of course the Dean Ambrose look of, hey, I look like I just rolled out of bed. Those kind of looks are kind of in. So you got a point. But
did your running stick with you, or so you're trying to you were trying to eliminate that dad bod a little bit before you went on the cruise with the running?
Oh yeah.
Did that stick with you, or did
I eventually dropped it because well, it got too hot. See, that was the problem. In Texas, working out in the garage is not a good idea, no matter how many fans you have. So that kind of got put away. My wife had to stop too. She tried longer than I did. She's out there chugging water, and she's just like, I can't do it. So I'll get to it eventually, one of these days. And when I'm 75. But anyway, when I'm like, my back's broken down. But anyway, yeah. And this is a whole interesting story with Chris Hero. Hopefully, it all works out for him if he is going to NXT. I want to talk about another guy that me and Sean touched on last week. That really, I wanted to hear Paul's opinion on, and that's Cody Rhodes. And we know Cody Rhodes right now is one of the hottest guys on the indie circuit, doing a great job. But, we're hearing that he's joining Bullet Club, Paul. I mean, how did you feel about this? And, is this good, bad? How do you feel about it?
I honestly don't have a problem with it. Bullet Club is pretty much a full-on Gaijin stable now. So Cody totally fits the bill. He wanted to be there. I think he fits in sort of with the idea of what they're doing in the Bullet Club. So I honestly don't have a problem with it. I know some people haven't been overly pleased with it, but I mean, he had to know it was coming.
Yeah, we kind of knew this was coming when, especially with Final Battle, where Cody Rhodes does his little turn. The rumors started flying that this was going to be the announcement by Kenny Omega, and I'll tell you what, that vignette makes him look really cool. So, if you're somebody that has not seen a lot of what Cody Rhodes has done since he's left WWE, you watch that video, you're kind of like, man, it makes you take notice, certainly. I don't think anybody has marketed themselves as well as Cody Rhodes has leaving WWE. Just the way he went about making sure that list that came out, he pretty much keeps hitting every single one of them. And now he's going to face Pentagon Jr. as well in another promotion. So, just the dude keeps rolling, let's say. And, it's he's got a spot at Wrestle Kingdom, and the dude's he's just Cody Rhodes. I mean, like, that didn't just happen.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about a master of social media is Cody Rhodes. Like, he's absolutely nailed it out of the box, like Sean just said. But I don't think I've seen anybody ever use social media as effectively as Cody Rhodes has.
Yeah, there's very few people at this moment that I can think of myself who've done such a great job like that on social media. And now it's more and more important. And I think people are having to realize that. And, it's good that he's using it to his full ability. That way he can put himself over even more than he really honestly has to. I mean, this guy, you pretty much put his name on any poster anywhere, and people are going to be flocking to go see him. But now that he's using social media, it's getting further and further out there, and now people are actually probably making bigger and longer trips to go see this guy. So it's exciting, and I know he's really happy with what's going on right now in his career. Someone who's not really happy with what's going on with their career is Tom Casiello, or however you say his name, Sean. But what do you think about him getting fired?
Look, he apparently doesn't seem to be too bothered by it. he had nothing but good things to say about WWE and his time there. He was one of the guys that was actually a proponent for women's wrestling becoming a big deal in WWE. There was rumors out there that because he's gay and because he apparently is not a big fan of Donald Trump, that might have been the reason he was fired, but he said it has nothing to do with that was all just people trying to make a big deal out of nothing, which I tend to believe. Like, seriously, WWE is a corporate company. They know better than to fire people for not liking Donald Trump. I mean, come on. He wouldn't be the first guy not to like Donald Trump. So, look, this is cool. He's worked there, I think, since 2011. So, I'm sure he'll show up on some MLW Writers Room, or there'll be some kind of podcast with him talking about his time there, and it'll be cool to listen to.
Yeah, and Paul, excuse me. This is a guy that's really been noted for really working with the women division and really, helping them, and really done a lot of great things for some of these storylines when it comes to the women's division. Do you think this is going to affect them at all, or do you think that they can move on from here? Because especially with a guy like him who's been really on their side a lot.
The thing that interests me the most about how WWE books is if they break it down into divisions. And if this guy surely had as much pull in making women's matches and the feuds, then maybe a new cook in the kitchen is required. Because if all he can give us is Sasha and Charlotte on repeat for half a year, might need to rethink where you want to go with this thing.
Oh, see, there you go.
I'm not going to complain about Sasha and Charlotte for half a year when they've actually tried to keep building on the gimmicks.
They've built them. They've built nobody else.
I agree, but, baby steps right now with them. I'd much rather them at least nail one feud than have a bunch of feuds going on and nail none.
I don't know if you could say they've nailed this feud. There are parts of it I have enjoyed, and there are parts of it that have been extraneous to a lot of degrees, and it hasn't been the best booked. And I don't know. I feel like while you're doing this, you could have done something else with a couple of other girls, and they've failed on all counts to do that. And it's not just Raw, too. I mean, SmackDown at least has tried. They don't always succeed, but they do try. Maybe that's all I'm looking for. It's just more effort.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, it really is. So, best wishes to Tom, and hopefully he does, pick up wherever he feels is best for him in his career. One thing before we jump into Wrestle Kingdom is the fact that NXT has their Australia tryouts going on. And there's some names on this list, Paul, that I'm not really aware of, maybe not know a whole lot of. But these tryouts are going on over there. And they found some talent in the past in Australia. Of course, we've got TM61 coming out. We have a few other ladies in NXT. And, of course, Emma. What do you think about these names? Do you know any of these names on the list?
Let me actually look at it.
I'm sorry. I thought maybe you had it up sometimes. But we do have a few names here on this list that are kind of interesting, but I just don't know many of them, like I said, and we'll have to see if Paul knows any.
They did announce that, that's one thing we didn't mention on Raw, that she will finally make her re-debut as Emelina at Roadblock. So, we're all been waiting for that.
Yeah, I just hope it's good.
The only one I'm familiar with on here is Shazza McKenzie, who wrestles in Shimmer, who is fantastically talented. I'm sure, there's so many girls out there that they should have on this short list for the Women's Classic they're doing next year. She certainly should be one of them.
Shazza McKenzie's been on NXT before, if I'm not mistaken. So
the article here says she has, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kellyanne English has been rumored since last week when they had the other signings, so that doesn't surprise me at all. some of the guys are what's interesting too. That they would bring in more, just more Australian talent. Period. Jonah Rock and Luke Guyette, who were supposed to be part. I think they were also original members of the Mighty Don't Kneel before the two guys that we know as the Mighty Don't Kneel kind of took that over in Noah. So that's interesting if we get to see any of these guys at all, or any of the women at all. If anything, I think we definitely see Shazza McKenzie as part of the Women's Classic if she doesn't just sign outright.
Yeah, definitely. And, we'll be following this because there are some of these names, like I said before, that, maybe, heading over to NXT sooner than later. We'll see. We've, like I said, already had tons of talent from Australia come over and join the NXT group. All right, well, let's move out of these quick hits and let's go ahead and jump into the Wrestle Kingdom card. And it is complete, everyone. I hope you're excited because I sure am. Wrestle Kingdom is a special event, and it's a lot of fun because they've got, just so many big, high-powered profile matches. But, Sean, why don't we go ahead and do that? Let's break down this card and kind of get an idea of what's going on.
Oh, well, you have the New Japan Rambo, which is always, which is
so
always
much
great
fun.
Because
Yeah.
Scott Norton's going to come back for that now. We know that.
So awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome to get to see him again. They're going to have just some legends and some great stuff. And then what's funny is a lot of the times the legends get to stay around and be at the New Year Dash show too, and have fun there. So, you get the Tiger Mask W, which is Kota Ibushi against Tiger the Dark, who is sort of the main rival of Tiger Mask W in the anime. We'll probably find out after the show who Tiger the Dark was played by, but would certainly be interesting if Tiger Mask W gets involved later in the show. Certainly, we'll have to see how that turns out, honestly. But you also get, in a nice surprise, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships in a 2-on-2 match, Paul. Can you believe it? The Young Bucks against Roppongi Vice. Yes, we've seen this match before, but it's nice that they're only doing 2-on-2 for this.
They saved the cluster for later, but this has storyline implications going for it. Obviously, Roppongi Vice had trouble getting through the Super Junior Tag Tournament, and they have that whole big thing going on for them. Plus, the Young Bucks have been their usual amazing selves, so it should be a great match.
Yeah, and then like Paul said, you get the craziness, but this is fine because this is what six-man titles are all about, is for having craziness and whatever. So your big cluster match this year, which has usually been the juniors in the past, is your never openweight six-man tag titles in a gauntlet match with Satoshi Kojima, Ricochet, and David Finlay defending against Sanada, Evil, and Bushi, Will Ospreay, Yoshihashi, and Tomohiro Ishii. How sad is it that this is what Ishii's doing at Wrestle Kingdom after his great year? And Hangman Page, Yujiro, and Bad Luck Fale. Man, lots of bodies in this thing.
I'm excited to see what we get, because there is a whole bunch of craziness and high flyers and big guys and Kojima, who's just awesome, and Yujiro for whatever reason, and I don't know what to expect. It's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun. That's all I can say. But I'm with you. Ishii should be doing way more than this, and I am still scratching my head why they didn't have Ishii and Goto win the tag league.
I am as well. But at least one of those guys got something good out of this that we'll talk about in a little bit. Juice Robinson faces Cody Rhodes at Wrestle Kingdom 11. For number one, yes, basically Juice Robinson's being a JTTS here, but Juice Robinson has had one heck of a year. This dude has, from coming in to being like maligned in NXT, to coming in and just totally adapting himself to strong style, and just getting the crowd pumped every time he gets in there, and just really becoming sort of a fan favorite by the time we get to the tag league where he's tagging with Tanahashi. And then you get Cody Rhodes, who, as we mentioned, has been marketing himself so well that he gets to walk in, and the first night on the town, Cody Rhodes is working freaking Wrestle Kingdom 11.
There's a really great story to build out of this, and obviously with the match being made this late and all this, there's not a ton they can do other than just address it in video packages and maybe some short interviews, but two guys coming in completely different ways, both finding their way on the outs from the WWE. Juice, as Sean said, came in, moved into the dojo, learning a whole new style of wrestling, has completely reinvented himself, and has had a very strong back half of 2016. And Cody Rhodes has just taken over wrestling by storm with his whole free agency and running the indies and world tours and Lord knows whatever else this guy's winning titles now. And certainly this is kind of a big deal. I kind of want to see where this goes. I think this will be good. Much like the way Adam Cole has been so far, though, I don't know how well Cody is going to be well received in Japan, but I'm really excited to see that match for sure.
Yeah, this match should be good. And after this, you get 6 straight title matches, including the rematch between Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole.
Baby!
And you get the one match that could make us all fall asleep, Guerrillas of Destiny against Tomoaki Hanma and Togi Makabe. And I thought we already had this match earlier in the year. What are you doing, Ghetto? What are you doing? Are you trying to torture us here?
So the ROH World Title match, that result is written all over the wall already. You know Kyle O'Reilly's walking out, not only because he just won the damn thing, but New Japan and everybody in Japan, I think, just loves Kyle. And if they even come close to sniffing their final battle match, that'll be awesome. Guerrillas of Destiny, they lost to Great Bash Shield in the tag final of the World Tag League. And sort of get the rematch here. So they built a bit of a story for this coming out of that, which I think was a nice touch. Although I care very little for this match, I still need to watch the finale, but I've heard it was good. So I kind of have high hopes for this match.
Yeah, we'll have to see, certainly. I mean, Guerrillas have definitely been improving as the time has gone on. And we know that when that crowd gets behind Hanma, it's you certainly get into the match. So if they can accomplish that, then it'll be a good deal here. So you get the Junior Heavyweight Championship, Kushida defending against Himuro Takahashi, or the former Kamatachi. And you get the never openweight title matches, Katsuri Shibata against his dear friend, sometimes bitter enemy, Hiroki Goto. These guys have had matches before, and they were great, so I'm not going to complain here.
I will never say no to a Goto Shibata match. These guys, not the last couple of years, these guys have had some absolute wars. They've beaten the piss out of each other. A couple of years ago, they won the tag belts together at Wrestle Kingdom, and now we're here at the never openweight title again. Both guys sort of on different paths, going back towards the top, so that's going to be really interesting. Kushida and Takahashi, however, that's got Show Stealer written all over it. I think that might be the match I'm most excited for.
And then you get your two main events, which they have announced there will not be a vote. And Tanahashi said that if it wasn't unanimous, he didn't win a main event anyway. Your Intercontinental Championship, Hiroshi Tanahashi taking on champion Tetsuya Naito, and Kazuchika Okada defending his IWGP Heavyweight title against Kenny Omega. The two matches we've known for a while are going to be happening, but it doesn't make them any less exciting.
Naito and Tanahashi is just going to be so great, simply because I think they work so similar to each other. Naito's sort of a next generation Tanahashi almost, in that they have that sort of natural charisma. They both have the high flying thing going for them, despite them being heavyweights. And I think they're going to have just a terrific matchup. Okada and Omega, I don't know what to expect other than greatness. Omega was fire this year. Okada was great as usual, and I mean, you look at this back half of the card, that's a top 4 murderer's row of matches where they're all going to be trying to outdo each other. People who are down on this card need to go check themselves at the door and realize this show's going to be amazing. It's the frickin' Dome, people.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome, and it's on a Wednesday this year, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we get that on a Wednesday night.
I'm watching it live. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm watching it live too. We're doing a podcast after. And yeah, it's going to be freaking amazing. It's going to be amazing. So we're still talking about the 3 matches from last year or from earlier this year. So, yeah.
Oh, for sure. Wrestle Kingdom is always a blast. I love just watching it, enjoying it, and then, of course, talking about it later. So this is one of those where, you just can't help but just see this and just think, man, can it be, time now? Can it be Wrestle Kingdom, at this minute? No, it can't be, but it'll be here before we know it, so no worries there.
They do
but yeah,
have
that's the card for everybody.
Just, if you have New Japan World, they do have shows on Friday and Saturday, Road to the Tokyo Dome shows, which are sort of their last shows that I think we're going to get to see before Wrestle Kingdom. So the 16th and 17th. So, may want to check those out. Just watch any kind of build to those shows happening. Or to that
Plus,
show,
if you're just in Japanese wrestling in general, that whole week pretty much gets converted into all these promotions doing huge shows. DDT does a big thing every year around New Year's. So does Big Japan. Stardom has a huge show scheduled for the 22nd with Shirai taking on oh Jesus, I'm forgetting her. Kairi Hojo for the title, and it if you're into Japanese wrestling, just get ready because the shows are coming, and you're gonna love every single one of them.
And not to mention, you weren't here to talk about this, Paul, so I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it. DDT starting their service January 1st. Didn't you think this was crazy that DDT is going to be adjusting the times of their shows so that the American audience can watch it live at a time that works for them?
That's pretty nuts. I didn't know they were doing that. Here's the thing with all these streaming services popping up, and it shouldn't really surprise me, but I think they know DDT is what it is in Japan, but they have such a product that's so easily marketable to outside sources, and I think they have sort of a leg up on that against all the other sort of wrestling promotions in Japan. DDT's just fun. People love fun, and it kind of sucks that you're shorthanding your immediate audience there in Japan, but I mean, I can't say I'm too broken up about it.
Basically, they adjusted it so that the shows would be airing anywhere between 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern here. So, I mean, that's crazy because, at New Japan, if we got to get up at 5 in the morning, we got to get up at 5 in the morning. Mm-hmm. So, do you think it has to do with DDT understanding that their product is similar to WWE and knowing that maybe if you watch it, you'll enjoy it just because there's a lot of similarities in the product along with the great wrestling?
It's not it is still way over the top compared to what you get from WWE nowadays. It's very different, and it's still strong style and respective of as far as the wrestling style goes, especially in the big matches, especially for the KOD titles. Anything like that where you get a big build, you certainly still get that strong style feeling in the matches. So it's not an exact carbon copy, but like I said, it's just a fun promotion, and it's so much easier if you're into some of the stuff they do, because some of it can get a little over the top, like I said, but it's so much easier to get into than something like an All Japan or a Noah, where if you're a New Japan fan, there's not a ton of difference between them. There's differences in presentation and stuff like that. For example, All Japan is much more old school than New Japan, especially nowadays. But you have similarities until you get into indies, so.
Yeah, and even you want to get in the crazy, you get Speedball Mike Bailey is going to be challenging for the KOD title for whoever wins. Didn't think I would be hearing that.
I mean, he can't work the States anymore for another, 2 years? Something like that?
Yeah.
A while, I know. Yeah.
Oh, well, apparently now Emma has suffered a minor fractured knee and will miss 4 to 6 weeks.
Oh.
This is from WWE's Twitter.
She's been standing around taking pictures. How can she hit her knee?
I don't know. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Pay somebody to take out your garbage,
for
people.
sure.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Maybe she was training, and that's what happened.
Yeah, the problem is she was training with RG3.
Oh, boy.
Anyway. Well, best wishes to Emma. And, but, we got a lot of great stuff coming, out of the world of wrestling. We just got through mentioning the Wrestle Kingdom card, DDT, some great news coming out of them. And, of course, a little few not so good things, including Emma. But, we are, of course, going to jump into some more great things this coming week. We have another show, part 2 of episode 225, coming everybody's way on Thursday night live. Of course, that'll be available Friday morning on the download when you wake up. You can listen to us on your car ride to work and, of course, on the way back. We'll be talking Lucha Underground, NXT, TNA Impact Wrestling, where that special show is coming your way. That's right. The Total Nonstop Deletion is coming here on this Thursday. You don't want to. Plus, we're also going to give you a Superstar of the Week and, a few other great things. So you don't want to miss that show for sure. Plus, don't forget also, we do a SmackDown Live review, which will be taking place, of course, following SmackDown Live on Tuesday night. So be looking for that stuff. Of course, the easiest way to go get it is the W2M Network. Go subscribe. You'll get all that stuff and more. Plus, don't forget as well, W2Mnet.com. That's a great website. You don't want to not check it out. Go check it out right now while you're listening. Or, if you're just, sitting around, you want to do something, get on your phone, do it. I don't care. Just go search out that site. It's a lot of fun. Besides that, we've had a good show. Anything, Sean, we want to let the people know besides any of that? We still got to do Ring of Honor.
Yes.
Tonight too. So I just want to give some information real quick before we move on to Ring of Honor.
Well, we do have a Roadblock and the Line preview for Thursday. So make sure you listen to that. Gary's like, oh damn it, I forgot we had a damn another pay-per-view we got to talk about.
I know.
WWE has a zillion of them.
Good God, that's a pain in the neck.
Can you guys wait till next year? We're going to have it all over again.
Oh, jeez, it's sick. Anyway.
Well, I know it's optional wrestling. I shouldn't look... I do think that... Look, we do this in a joking manner. We're not... yes, it is a pain in the ass. So let's be honest, okay? But I'm not going to sit here and be like cranky Brian Alvarez and complain every 10 seconds that you got to watch a million WWE pay-per-views. At the end of the day, you don't have to watch them. Mm-hmm. But, we kind of do for this podcast. So
yeah,
it kind of does get annoying after a while of the constant. At least you know what you're doing every week, but still, I'd like to be able to do something else on my Sundays sometimes.
Yeah, I know. It's just, and I know the Sunday Night be busy because we have a national TV game we're watching too. So.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. But you know what? Let's go ahead and get into talking Ring of Honor before we finish our plugs, because we got a few more we're going to get into. But just want to let everybody know what's kind of coming up on the wrestling shows. Ring of Honor had a special TV show this week because they did Women of Honor. So let's go ahead and do that right after this, guys.
Alrighty, guys.
Yeah, Ring of Honor, sticking inside Baltimore, Maryland once again. This is the second Women of Honor TV special. They did one earlier this year, followed by the big Women of Honor VOD, which if you haven't checked out, I'd still recommend. It's only $10, guys. Give them a shot. This one opens up with Deonna Purrazzo taking on Candice LeRae. Obviously, I'm sure most people are familiar with Candice LeRae by this point. Shimmer, PWG, Shine, tagging up with Joey Ryan every chance she can get. Mary Johnny Gargano, accolades forever. Deonna Purrazzo, somebody Ring of Honor has been very high on. She's won the Women's Super 8 over in the East Coast Wrestling Alliance 2 years in a row now, which is a first, and she's coming up very quickly in the Northeast. She is one heck of a technical wrestler, and her and Candice put on a pretty good match. She sort of works heel because I don't think anybody can work face versus face with Candice LeRae and hope to get cheered because Candice is that over. Deonna does get the win, though, with a Fujiwara armbar. Not a bad match, certainly not a great match by any stretch of the imagination, but you get your fun spots in here. Candice always likes to dive, which I appreciate. Deonna gets to work over an arm, and she sticks with it, which is also appreciated too, because a lot of people will get away from limb work that they start on. So, and was I the only one that watched this?
Yeah, I think you were, and sadly, I was going to watch it, but I got the TV episode, and I think they reran a show for some reason. I don't know why they didn't show Women of Honor on the regular TV show, but I guess that was something special, and they didn't want to share that with anybody, so... I should have watched it on the Fight TV app, but sorry.
Hey, you win some, lose some. I seriously think Deonna Purrazzo, she's been in NXT before, too. As far as showing up to make her fair share of jobber appearances, I have to think she's a shoo-in for the Women's Classic. And I hope Candice is, too. She absolutely deserves it, but we go back and forth so many times on whether we like intergender wrestling in WWE or not, so whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I know it's a pain because they, I think that they should just, let these people come in and try out, even though the intergender thing is not so much on WWE, because they deserve it too. And this sounds like a pretty cool matchup though to start the show.
Yeah, it was not bad at all. It certainly got the crowd going at least, and we go right into a tag match from there with Veda Scott teaming up with Kennedy Brink. To face off against Sumi Sakai and Faye Jackson with Solo Darling. Veda Scott, of course, is no longer with the company, so that kind of sucks. Kennedy Brink is somebody else who is coming up big in the Northeast. She's a little shorter than Beth Phoenix, but she reminds me a lot of her, just maybe a bit more modern as far as working in indie style and all that. Sumi Sakai, she's been big in the Northeast, too. She's also traveled around the world. She's Japanese. She's the big veteran, I think, in the entire division. And then she's paired up with Faye Jackson, who is the, as far as I'm aware, the first or the most recent female to graduate from the Ring of Honor dojo. She is still super raw, and you get to see that clear as day throughout this entire match, which really sort of takes you out of it. But Veda Scott ends up taking out Sumi on the outside. Kennedy Brink makes Faye Jackson tap out with the Anaconda Vice. The ending sequence is fun. That's really all about you need from this. Everything else is sort of basic to, oh my god, Faye Jackson just botched another move. So,
I get it because they want to make sure that they showcase everybody, and I'm sure their roster is kind of limited to an extent. So they've got to get someone maybe that green on the show, but at the same time, you do understand that maybe take you away from all the other action. How did Veda Scott look in this? I don't think I've ever seen her wrestle.
Veda's I like Veda a lot personally. She's great in a character role. Her wrestling is fine. It's nothing out of this world or anything like that, but she has a great rolling kick. She utilizes a lot of other kicks too, but she's just such an easy to hate person. And I say that with all the fandom in the world, because I'm a big fan of her work, but she's just such an easy person to hate. I think that's probably the best thing I can say about her.
Yeah, you're right about that, and that's why I was kind of interested in how she wrestles and all that, because just as a person on the microphone, a character, you're right. I mean, it's not hard to be like, oh, this person's terrible, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this match isn't exactly the best example of her ring work, because she's only in there maybe a couple minutes, but certainly Kennedy Brink is somebody I'm very high on. But she's been around about as long as Rachel Ellering has, which I think they're maybe been in the business about 2 years now. So for them to come this far, I think it is pretty good. The next match is Mandy Leon taking on Jessica Havoc. So the big thing since her Mandy feud with Hanaya the Huntress had ended has been this circling thing with Taylor Hendricks, which has sort of brought in Deonna Purrazzo, who Mandy Leon had the big first Women of Honor match with that Ring of Honor likes to harp on so much. They sort of teamed up to face off against Taylor Hendricks, who had been cheating and basically is somebody that they don't think belongs in Women of Honor because she's such a dishonest person. And Taylor went out and got J-Hav to be her partner. So Deonna Purrazzo ends up running in after J-Hav grabs a chair, takes it out of her hands. Mandy Leon gets a surprise roll-up, which I know is Sean's favorite finish in the world, and gets the win. And then J-Hav wrecks both with choke slams after the match. This, once again, not a stellar match, but it does a good job of telling its story. I think that's really all it was there for.
Well, even though, like you said, the roll-up was not so great. The storytelling is important, and Ring of Honor has been a lot better at that recently, and just more and more. And I think that it's kind of cool to see that they are building something in the women's ranks too.
Yeah, and the other big thing outside of Mandy Leon's seeming circle of feuds, because she seems to be the focus of the division. Right behind her, though, in that 1A build-up slot is maybe, I think, my favorite find that Women of Honor has come across in Kelly Klein. She takes on ODB in the main event and gets the win. She's... How do I describe Kelly Klein? She's a big girl. She likes to brawl. She also likes submission work. She kind of has this MMA feel about her, too. But she's so good for how new she is to the business, too. And I think as somebody with a huge upside... Not to mention she's kind of pretty, which always helps. But she ends up getting the win after she literally chokes ODB out, which is pretty good because ODB dominates a good majority of the match, and Kelly Klein is undefeated in Women of Honor action, and that streak stays intact. And that's pretty much your episode. Yeah.
Well, sounds like a pretty decent episode there, and these are always special. I'm really bummed out that I missed it. Like I said, I had no idea. I was like, man, I'm watching this episode, and it seems like I've seen this before, and then I think, come to find out, I have. So they just reran the show instead of showing the Women of Honor, which I think was a big bummer, and I would like an explanation for Ring of Honor, or at least Sinclair TV, but I doubt I'll get one. But yeah, that's great. And of course, like I said, I've already done a lot of the wrestling plugs for this week for our Wrestling to the Max show. But Sean, is there anything on the other side of things that you want to get into? Maybe some of the other podcasts before we get out of here, or maybe not.
Oh, sorry.
So
I had to.
There you
hold
go.
on, I had to unmute. I forgot I was on mute. Of course, we have, if you still haven't noticed, we have a MMA podcast now. So the guys, Jeremy and Sammy, review UFC 206, and they also preview the UFC on Fox 22 card, which has the Paige Van Zandt and Michelle Waterson match and also the Mickey Gall and Sage Northcutt match. So those should be some good outings there. And you also you got football shows coming. All the other shows should be on schedule. Make sure you go listen to Running Wild podcast. They had an interview with Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole before they fought in that big match at Final Battle. So you want to go check them out too. And the video game podcast should be there. Should be doing the football podcast here in just a little bit as well. So yeah. Everything should be going full steam ahead. Wrestling Unwrapped had they reviewed Vengeance 2001, where Chris Jericho beat both Stone Cold and The Rock in the same night to become the first ever undefeated champion. So, yeah.
Cool,
Also known as the single greatest night of my life.
Yeah.
I was such a huge Jericho mark at the time, and I completely lost my shit when he beat The Rock.
That was so surprising. Just so well done by WWE at that point to Jericho winning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite times in wrestling as well. The reason being is, as everyone knows, I was a big WCW fan even before WWE, and I just was a huge fan of Chris Jericho. And then, of course, he disappeared. I didn't know where he went. And I just kind of started watching Raw. And then, all of a sudden, I see that guy that I was such a big fan of show up and of course, start this whole feud with The Rock. So, when that actually happened, I was like, thank God this guy is getting the love he deserves. So, yeah, I'm right with you, Paul. I was so into this when it happened. So, it was definitely one of the best nights in wrestling, too. All right, guys. Well, we gave you all the info I think you're going to need from us from tonight. Of course, come check us out for that SmackDown Live review. It'll be right after SmackDown. And, of course, don't forget, Part 2, Episode 225, will take place this next Thursday night. Don't forget about that as well. And I guess we're done here, guys. So we appreciate you coming and checking us out. Until next time, if you're not living life to the max.
Not living life at all.
You know it.
Please.
Later.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.